these can join. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our presentation today for Premiere for Art and Art History. We're going to give it like a few more minutes or a few more seconds in order to kind of get everybody coming in. Thank you so much for being here on a Saturday morning. We really appreciate it. We know you're so excited about Baylor and to learn more about art and art history. So let's dive right into it. So my name is Edian Castro Rivera. I'm one of the assistant directors for admissions at Baylor. And then with us today, we have Professor Mack Gingles, professor in the art and art history department, and he's going to go over everything they have about the department. So feel free to use the chat feature to ask any questions, and then we'll save those for the end to answer those about the department. So take it away, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Edian, and welcome everyone to Baylor University's 2022 spring premiere. I know that you have choices to make today, so I hope that this presentation is helpful to you. My name is Mack Gingles. I am an associate professor of art in the Department of Art and Art History. I teach drawing within the foundations area of our department, so you're likely to take a class with me if you pursue a degree in one of our 7 studio areas. I want to begin by telling you why Baylor is special to me. I have been teaching at Baylor for 10 years now and have observed firsthand a working synthesis between faith and success since 1845 that I do not think you will find in another university. Our mission clearly states that we are committed to our faith, but also worldwide leadership. All tenured and tenure-track faculty at Baylor University are proud of their church homes. I attend Austin Avenue United Methodist Church. Professor Christopher Wood is also with us today from the art history area to answer questions. He is both archaeologist and art historian. His areas of expertise include Greek and Roman art and archaeology and the expansion of trade in the ancient Mediterranean. He teaches Introduction to Art, Survey of Western Art, 18th century European art, 19th century art history, and neoclassicism and romanticism. My next slide isn't popping up. This is what I was afraid of. Here we go. We have approximately 100 majors and 7 concentrations to choose from, including photography, graphic design, ceramics, sculpture, painting, printmaking, and fabric design. We have 14 studio faculty and 4 art historians that exhibit, publish, and lecture around the world. Like Vienna, for example. Here we can see students of art history on the left conducting a field study where a student is studying a Gustav Klimt, an archaeological dig in Israel, and students studying prints from the Martin Museum's collection. As the name implies, these introductory courses are critical to the success of our studio majors, but also art history majors and minors. Top right, you see Professor Benny Fountain teaching a drawing class, and bottom center, Professor Llewellyn teaching a drawing class. Both are successful at exhibiting their work. Professor Fountain has a gallery representation in Portland. Because we are focused on the visual arts in our department, I would like to show you some examples, but please take the time, if time allows, to walk down our hallway and see what students are currently working on in their classes. Here are some examples from the Foundations 2D design class. Design and drawing are important to our majors, but also family consumer science. Drawing 1 is centered on learning how to see and draw from direct observation. The design classes are focused on the elements of art, line, value, shape, texture, and color in a way that accomplishes our goals visually. Examples from the Foundations 3D design class. Examples from our Drawing 1 and Figure Drawing 1 classes. The students are guided through a number of problems that question how we see and engage with forms in space. You can see that in ceramics, we offer wheel throwing. Students will also be taught numerous processes of making the forms, gas kiln firing, and wood firing. Ceramic examples of student work. We also offer fabric design. Former student Lilith Chen in the top center was recently accepted to the MFA program at Cranbrook Art Institute. More examples from the fibers area. They make art objects through classes on surface design, weaving, and three-dimensional object making. On the right, you see something that looks like it could be worn. Approximately 30 of our total majors are concentrated in graphic design. Professor Virginia Green, pictured here, teaches in this area. Students are given a wide array of challenges to prepare them for the field. They're also required to take a marketing class. A number of them participate in internships over the summer. So let's say a student arranges work in their hometown area, they can get course credit and work experience towards their degree. Painting is another popular area within our department. You can see Professor Winter Rosolowski in the lower right image helping a student. Professor Rosolowski has representation of 2 galleries in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Student examples from the painting area. More examples. Photography is another popular concentration within our department. In the upper right, you see Professor Janet Jennings Sheffield helping a student. She is a practicing artist and exhibits widely within her field. Student examples from the photography area. Our photo students begin learning with film and then they proceed to digital where they become familiar with leading software. Professor Kyle Shapu, pictured on the left, is our printmaker. He teaches a drawing class in addition to lithography, relief, silk screening, and etching. You can see examples of these processes to the right. Student examples. Professor Robbie Barber, top center, teaches sculpture, wood sculpture in the fall, metals in the spring, and jewelry in the summer. He also teaches 3D design. Professor Leah Forrest, pictured in the lower right, is our undergraduate program director. She also teaches 3D design. Both of them are advisors to our majors. Only 2 departments out of 26 get to advise their own students, and we are one of them. Sam Panter in the middle was accepted into Cranbrook for graduate studies. Here you can see the possible degree plans within our department. The BFA is considered our professional degree, and beneath that you can see the concentrations listed. Through the Masters of Art and Teaching program, students can graduate with their BFA and MAT simultaneously after 5 years. This grants them an all-level teacher certification in art and the ability to enter the workforce at a higher pay scale. I hope you can make time to walk through our spaces in the Lewis Art Building, also the Cooper Schaefer Fine Arts Building, we call it, and see current student works in the hallway. We display work on a regular basis for our guests, but also for the purpose of assessment. Some of our many guest speakers are pictured here. Ceramicist Steve Hilton, painter John Hartley, ceramicist Daniel Gardner, treasurer of the United States Rosie Rios, archaeologist Jody Magnus, and photographers Larson and Talbot. We have an impressive BFA exhibition currently on display in the Martin Museum of Art within the Hooper Schaefer Fine Arts Building. Also on display, painter John Norris. The Fine Arts Living Learning Center is one of several living learning centers on campus. Engineering and pre-med have one, for example. Ours is a combination of music, fine arts, theater, and film. They have live-in faculty that chaperone them to various places around Dallas and other art centers. Please visit us on our department's website and through our different social media platforms. This concludes my presentation. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them now, and Professor Wood and I will help you the best way I can. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, gentlemen. I do have a few questions as we wait for the students to, if they have any questions in the chat. So I have a few questions. So with Baylor, for example, we have a lot of competitors, and one of our biggest ones are things like TCU, like especially like in Texas, like A&M, UT. Those are going to be like the really big ones. I know Tulane, we look at them a lot as well. How would you say that our programs differ from, for example, let's say TCU? Like, why would a student go to Baylor for art history versus TCU's?
Sure, I'm glad you asked that. One of the things that I invite each of you to do is to look at your professors that are teaching here, like Chris Wood, for example, or myself, or anyone in our department. I would look at the way that they publish, where they're publishing, where they exhibit nationally, internationally. And I think that you will see that that's where we stand above. I mean, obviously we're a Christian university and I think we're doing that very well, but I think what I'm saying right now is I want you to compare the successes of our faculty to these other places that you're talking about.
Great, thank you. So there are a few questions in the chat. So Lindsay's asking that she noticed that there's a study abroad program, and she wants to, if you can elaborate a little bit more on the program with art and art history.
Okay, Chris, do you want to take this?
Sure. Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, great. I think currently we're kind of reassessing that study abroad program. It was through the Albritton Institute. So we're just kind of we're kind of massaging it and reworking it right now. So we don't have any current information on that, but I guess the plan is to continue those kinds of opportunities at some point.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Great. And then what would a graphic design program include?
What would it include? Are you talking about the curriculum or?
Yeah, I would say so. I think that's what I think that was Ruth is asking that.
Sure. Well, there are at least a couple of ways that you can think about graphic design. Traditionally, print has been very important to the field of graphic design, but now more than ever, web design is becoming important, and that's something. Both of those things are fields that we prepare the students for. I would add also that our lead professor in graphic design is very invested in the printing press, like book binding, like traditional book binding, and then also like letterpress. That's the word I'm looking for, letterpress. And so I think that gives our students something special when they're designing to help them stand out from others. That touch. There's a certain touch and pressure to the letterpress method. In any case, those are two or three things that a graphic design student would focus on. And as I said in my presentation, we encourage and facilitate internships and prepare you at the senior levels, creating a portfolio that will help you get a job.
And then there's been a few questions about this. And so what does the admissions process look for, like the art department? I know you guys don't require a portfolio, but what else would you guys be looking for specifically?
Well, there's not a selective admissions per se. There is a portfolio review at the end of your foundations. I was talking about foundations earlier. These are the classes that everyone takes. 2D design, which is like a survey of 2D processes, 3D design, survey of 3D processes, and then drawing one and figure drawing, things like that. At the end of your foundations track, the faculty assesses the students' progress up to that point, but there's not a selective admissions. I want to make sure I emphasize that.
Great. Can students that are not art and art history majors or minors, can they take classes in your department?
The short answer is yes, technically, but it is, priority would go to students that are majoring in art and art history to fill those classes first. But if you're interested in a minor, this is a really good idea and very possible the way that the new core curriculum is structured. It really allows for students to pursue minors. And let's say a student is really interested in drawing, then they could take just drawing classes up through an intermediate level or further without having to take classes that they don't want to take. A lot of people do that.
And then do we offer any animation classes?
No. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. And then so far, last question is, after you get an art degree, what are some typical jobs one could pursue? And is there like a recruiting process for that?
Typical jobs. Well, there are some things you would expect. Like obviously, if you go to graduate school and you get a terminal degree, in my case, drawing and painting, the MFA is a terminal degree. But like for Professor Christopher Wood here, he would go on or has gone on to get a doctorate. So with a terminal degree, you could teach at a university level. A lot of people might choose to just take their first degree, their first 4-year degree, and teach, K through 12 or something like that. Beyond teaching, it really depends on the discipline that you pursue. Like my good friend Robbie Barber, he teaches sculpture, but he teaches a lot of really technical skills, welding and so forth, that would allow somebody to pursue that. If you chose photography, there are a lot of commercial applications for that. If you were ceramicist, there are commercial applications for that. And by commercial, I'm making a distinction between fine art, where you're more interested in questions, and commercial art, where you're moving product. Like it is what it is, and you're moving product. But and then let me add one more thing. More and more employers outside of the realm of design and or art are looking at art degrees because of the critical thinking skills, which is, let's just say, it's absent from a lot of people who are graduating. And so these critical thinking skills, these problem solving skills, are very unique to our majors. They're very creative. So.
Okay, and then what minors are available in the art department?
each of the seven disciplines of photography, fabric design, sculpture, ceramics, painting. Chris, did I miss any? I went really fast there, but each of the studio areas. Yeah, and like I say, if you minored, you could take classes up through the advanced level, not necessarily, building a portfolio, but if you were really interested in painting, for example, you could just take painting classes and get really far.
Awesome. And then can you talk a little bit more about the internships available, and do we have a curatorial program or museum studies?
Let me do one part of that, and Professor Wood can do the other part. So internships relative to graphic design, I talked about that in my presentation. We would facilitate that, but we would also work with, as I was saying earlier, if there's something in your hometown that you have your eye on, maybe you have leads on that, then we would encourage and help that go forward for course credit, right? So, and it's important to work with Professor Green in advance so that you actually get credit for these things that you're doing over the summer. Relative to art history, I want to ask Professor Wood to take that.
Okay. In terms of like museum studies, I mean, that is a separate department, and they do have opportunities that I'm aware of, at least in the graduate program, to do some sort of kind of work within the museums here on campus. I'm thinking the Mayborn specifically. There's also the Dr. Pepper Museum that, students can work at. So there are opportunities, but again, I think that's through our museum studies department.
All right. Well, I think those are all the questions that we have. So thank you, professors. We really appreciate you guys being here and talking about the art and art history. Students, thank you for being and attending our session. There are other sessions to join throughout the day for Premiere, so feel free to join those and enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Thank you guys for being here.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
You too.